Hello, and welcome to the David Rubenstein Atrium at Lincoln Center. I'm Becca Arnold, the director of the Atrium, and I'm very excited to welcome you to JustFilms at AtriumFlix, a new partnership between Lincoln Center and the Ford Foundation. The Atrium, where you all are tonight, is Lincoln Center's visitor center and more. Since opening in 2009, we've welcomed over 800,000 people. We are the home of Lincoln Center's tours, a day of discount ticket booth, free Wi-Fi, a witchcraft cafe, and many wonderful free artistic programs, including Target Free Thursdays, Meet the Artist Saturdays, and now JustFilms at AtriumFlix. We offer great thanks to the Ford Foundation for providing major support to make this program possible. Thanks also to our presenting partners at the New York Film Academy and the Film Society of Lincoln Center. JustFilms at AtriumFlix is a 6-part filmmaker discussion and screening series here at the Atrium. It is in partnership with JustFilms, an initiative of the Ford Foundation that has the goal of advancing social justice worldwide through the talent of emerging and established filmmakers. The Atrium is proud to be able to play a part in that important and lofty goal. Please pick up an info card or check the website for information and join us for the 4 remaining installments of the series. Tonight, we'll have a discussion with filmmakers Rachel Grady and Heidi Ewing, followed by a screening of their film Jesus Camp. You'll learn more about them shortly. The next event will be on March 26th and features a conversation with Alexandra Pelosi, followed by her film Fall to Grace, which follows Jim McGreevy and his public resignation and his life afterwards. Tonight, we're also joined by Kent Jones, the Director of Programming of the New York Film Festival at the Film Society of Lincoln Center. His writing on film has been published throughout the world in numerous magazines, newspapers, catalogs, websites, and journals. His career in programming film spans the world, including most recently serving as Executive Director of the World Cinema Foundation. Kent returned to the Film Society as the Director of Programming of the New York Film Festival in 2012. Please welcome Kent Jones.
I just want to say that it's great to be here, and what a transformation, what a beautiful place. The last I remember, this was a place where people would take rock climbing lessons, so you know. I'm here to just do a little bit of promotion for the Film Society of Lincoln Center, and just to remind everyone in the room about some upcoming programs that we have, programs down the road, benefits that we offer. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is a series that we do called Art of the Real, which is a monthly documentary series of consciousness-raising films. And the next film that we're doing is called The Revolutionary Optimists, which is by Nicole Newman and Maren Granger Monson, and it's about a group of children battling poverty in Calcutta. That's on March 13th, and the filmmakers will be present, as they usually are for Art of the Real. The other thing that I want to mention to you, the next thing, these are my talking points. They're all here on paper. Is the Chaplin Award Gala. This is our annual gala presentation that we've done. This is actually the 40th anniversary. Every year we honor someone. This year it's Barbra Streisand. As a matter of fact, the award is going to be presented to her this year by someone you may remember. His name is Bill Clinton. He was our president. That's on April 22nd, and that is going to have an exclusive pre-sale period for members, so watch our website. We also have upcoming New Directors, New Films, which is an annual festival of films that we do with the Museum of Modern Art. And this is a festival of films that are from emerging filmmakers from around the world. It's from March 20th to the 31st at the Walter Reed Theater and at the Museum of Modern Art. And again, there will be an exclusive pre-sale period for members of the Film Society. And, as if that's not enough, there's a raffle. So you'll find all the materials in the back of the room, and if you sign up, you can win one of 2 completely awesome awards. The first is VIP seating for the next screening in this series and a free drink, all right? And that's on March 26th. And then a Film Society membership, which brings you a member discount to all programs and events, a 1-year subscription to the magazine Film Comment, advanced ticketing opportunities for the New York Film Festival, Film Comment Selects, which is a series that's ongoing right now, the New York Jewish Film Festival, and more. And the discounts on the delicious food at Indy, which is at the Eleanor Bunin Monroe Film Center, and at all of Film Society merchandise. Okay, enough of the preliminaries. I'm here to introduce Orlando Bagwell, who's a name that many of you probably know. Orlando is the director of the Just Films initiative at the Ford Foundation, and his tenure there is coming to a close in June. He's going to be moderating the conversation tonight. Orlando really has one of the most distinguished careers in American documentary filmmaking. Many of you may know, for instance, a film that he made about Martin Luther King, Citizen King. If you don't know it, I would urge you to check it out. He won 4 Emmy Awards. He was nominated for many more Emmys, and he's also the winner of 3 Peabody Awards. I'm very pleased that Orlando is getting back into into regular filmmaking. We need him. Please welcome Orlando Bagwell.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here, really, because I don't know, when you have an event like this or a function like this, we spend a lot of time talking about what we want it to be. And unfortunately, the first event we had here, I was sick with the flu and I couldn't come. So it's so great to be here and to see so many people here and to be in this space, and it just feels comfortable. So I'm really glad to be here. And we have a great program for you today. This is our second program in this partnership with Lincoln Center and the Ford Foundation and AtriumFlix. And I hope that after that you keep this on your calendar and keep coming back, because we want to see your face in this place. Visual narratives, documentary films, they can play an indispensable role in the search for justice in society. They can inspire our imaginations, build new understandings on critical issues, and incite civic dialogue and engagement. Great films have the power to make complicated stories personal. The best ones deliver visual impact and elicit emotional responses unlike almost any other medium, and I think you're going to see that today with the film and the filmmakers we have today. For these reasons, this is why we decided that it would be such a great opportunity to partner with Lincoln Center and join together to explore the language of the filmmaker, really focus on the filmmaker and to understand what makes them tick, what makes them want to spend so many lonely hours making these wonderful stories for us. And we're bringing together in this series of programs fiction and nonfiction storytellers. And we do it through conversation and exhibition. So what you'll see today is that we'll introduce the filmmakers, and we'll take some time, and I will sit on the stage, and we have other guest moderators who do the same thing, and we'll talk about their work, their language, the challenges they face, and how they kind of problem solve when they're in the midst of these really complicated stories that they try and tell. And I think you'll find the conversation kind of riveting, and each one has a very unique style and way in which they work, and that's what we're trying to pursue. As some of us have said, the Ford Foundation is committed to this kind of work because we believe that these kinds of stories are really a big part of our social justice work that we do, and in many ways can be very much a part of our social change strategies. So we want, when we are in these sessions, in these moments, to have an opportunity for the audience not just to be moved, but to learn and to feel, and in some ways collectively together kind of confront issues that the films take on. And I can't think of 2 filmmakers that I would rather be on the stage talking to than the uniquely gifted Heidi Ewing and Grady. For me, they're nothing but fun. I enjoy them all the time. And they're partners. They're unusual partners because they're partners as producers and directors, and partners in a company, Low Key Films. And we will see one of their films, Jesus Camp, tonight, which was an Academy Award nominated film that they did a few years ago. But they have an incredibly rich collection of films that they've worked on, and the awards have been numerous. And when thinking about them, and you kind of look at what people say about filmmakers and how they talk about them, and one of the comments that someone made was that they're innovators of the documentary craft, and I think that's something I want to probe. What does that really mean? What do they mean by being innovators of a documentary craft. I mean, we know what documentaries are, we know what the language is, and these women do something with film that is unnerving and at the same time so real and so honest. And I want to get to the bottom of that. So, without any more talk, I want to start talking to our filmmakers. So put your hands together and welcome Rachel and Heidi of Low Key Films.
Hello. Oh. I want to make a film that fits this whole screen. New goal. Wouldn't that be cool?
I knew when you walked in you were going to say that.
Yeah?
Yes.
I just need $1 billion and we can make a big film like that.
So first thing I want to ask you, you guys work together. You're a team all the time. How do you do that? I mean,
How do you
how
navigate?
do you navigate that?
Yeah.
Does someone direct the first one day and produce the second day? Or
Right.
do you kind of confer about what you're going to do?
It's very organic, you know. I mean, and basically what we have is, I would call it like a good marriage. So most of the time, it's good.
There's
you know?
a good marriage?
It's like a marriage.
Okay,
It is like
okay,
a marriage.
okay.
Yes. But as far as you know, the responsibilities that we have, it depends on what makes sense. You know, I mean, we're dealing with real people and their real lives, and you know, we have different chemistry, or there's all different kinds of factors involved. So I would never. It's a moving target, depending on a million other things that are happening.
We do we do have some things that seem to be happening on every film, which is that we have to both agree that the topic that whichever one of us is pitching to the other is worth a cinematic treatment. We really have a rigorous conversation about, should this be a New Yorker article? Should this be a This American Life? Should this be a letter to your mother? Should this be a personal conversation you have with yours? Should this be a movie? Why should this be a movie? Why does it deserve a cinematic treatment? And so once we agree on the subject matter, we do go into the field together, develop the project, find the characters, cast the film, create the look, go on the first few shoots together, and then we don't go on location together anymore. It's one or the other.
Oh.
So whoever's on location...
Typically, sometimes, but
This is typically, I mean, it does change. Sometimes we
that's
go
what
on
I'm saying. It's not. There's no orthodox.
It's not like, it's not a rule, but we feel like the other person who was not on the shoot can be more objective about the material if she wasn't there. So we think it sort of helps to choose the A scenes.
So what is it like when you get back and you're looking at what she shot and you're looking at what...
It's very
Rachel shot,
helpful.
and-
You know, it's very helpful for both of us, because sometimes, you know, I mean, it goes both ways. You could think something totally read because you know all the context of of a conversation, but she's watching it. She's got no context. So it's more like what the editor experiences, which is, if it's not in front of you, it didn't happen.
So you're in constant conversation about
Well, we're in constant
what you see
conversations.
and what you don't see and what you...
Or
how-
and
how-
sometimes
how
I'll
it's
say, "Oh,
connected to story.
this was lousy." You know, it seemed fake. It seemed forced. He was too self-conscious. He was nervous. Whatever. She'll take a look and she'll say, "I thought he
This is
seemed
a great scene."
beautiful." And this has happened a lot.
A lot
this
of
happens all
times
the
we've
time.
discovered things that the other person had shot and discarded and said, you can look at that if you want to, but I think, and then of course, eventually everything gets seen. And a couple times, I can think on at least 2 of our films, something that got just thrown to the bottom of the barrel ended up being extremely prominent in the film because the other one was like, whoa, what is this? When did you get this?
Give
This
me
is
an example.
incredible.
Like what?
For The Boys of Baraka, which I don't know if you've seen The Boys of Baraka.
How many seen that?
See it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It was one of their...
It's our first one, and we love it so much. And please
The
see
Boys
it.
of Baraka.
But there was one incident where, Rachel and Tony, our cinematographer on that film, had gone out and they were shooting the kids playing. They're 11 and 12-year-old boys in Baltimore. They go to Africa for 2 years for an experimental boarding school, and that's the story.
He likes it.
You
He's a
like
fan.
it? Okay, talk to this guy.
So I directed the human rights
All right. Oh, and the guys were there that
and
night.
the boys were there.
We were filming them the other day. They're 22 now. Ask us after. Yeah, we'll tell you that after. Anyway, so basically, they play cops and robbers. Their version of cops and robbers is drug dealers, is cops, it's narcs. They play it at night. It's
People were getting shot. I mean, they're shooting each other.
someone was like, "I'm gonna call Johnny Cochran. Shut up!" You know, someone was playing the cop, and all this language. And these are 11-year-old kids, and Rachel had filmed it. I don't remember why you didn't like it.
I didn't like it because I didn't like the experience of filming it.
Right, because it was awful to do it.
I didn't like it, and I just...
You didn't like the experience of filmmaking?
I didn't...
Is that what you just
making
said?
it.
Of making.
this scene,
Oh.
this particular
Being there.
scene that she's describing,
Okay.
I actually was mad at our cinematographer for
shooting
filming
it.
it because I felt like he was encouraging them to be... I feel like,
So that's-
especially when
that's
you're working with kids,
So you're coming back with stuff because you're there and you're
I'm
looking
there,
at it raw.
and I
you're
have
just
I have
seeing
an
it.
emotional experience
Right,
with this
and
material,
it
I'm
was
like,
hard, yeah.
I'm mad at the material.
And
So
I
do you
didn't
guys-
see it
you
for
guys
months.
You look at rushes together all the time?
No, we look at rushes separately.
We try and we try and be somewhat efficient.
Often we split up the material.
Somewhat.
But I think I found that months later because we had so much material and we were doing other jobs and we were broke and I don't know, we were in the middle of the edit and one day I put in the tape at that point and I was like, this is fucking awesome. What is this?
You
Oh
said it
my
like-
God, like that. I said, Rachel, what is this? This is the opening of the movie. This is the opening of the movie. This is so
And I was so upset
raw.
about it. I was like, I hate that stuff.
It became the opening of the movie.
Opening of the movie.
Yeah, it's very, very strong.
Yeah.
You know,
I understand why you felt that way. I mean, when you're there, you feel, maybe the camera did encourage, maybe it wasn't, but in the end, it spoke volumes.
Right.
And it's in the middle of the night, and we like shooting things at
But
night.
that's
and
the
all that.
bottom line.
tell
When
me
you're
something.
there, you have a different emotional
Yeah.
connection.
So now you've got to bring Boys of Baraka back because we have to all see the opening scene, right? We
Yes.
want to see that opening scene, definitely. But
hopefully.
the whole movie is good, I see. But tell me more about, I mean, you've got a lot of films. This is going to be unbelievably fast what we do here today because 12th and Delaware.
Awful to make that one, too.
12th and Delaware, that's a tough film.
Yeah.
Tough film because I don't know if you know 12th and Delaware. Oh, you saw that too. How many have seen 12th and Delaware?
I like this guy.
He's our agent.
It's about abortion, and they cover 2 clinics, and they're across the street from one another. It's
One
a
is an
powerful
abortion
film.
clinic, one is an anti-abortion clinic, one is a crisis pregnancy center that poses as an abortion clinic. It's on HBO Go and other places. Right now. But that was an awful experience. We stood on a street corner for a year, and everyone we talked to was having the worst day of their life. Everyone in the movie was having their worst day of at least their year, and we're there with the camera. It was an awful experience.
How long did you shoot that film?
It took about a year.
Took about a
Yeah.
year.
And then a year to cut it. Yeah.
So in some way, you're really immersed in this work. Talk about that. The time that you spend shooting and with your characters and with your stories.
Right. It's definitely like there's some trench work type of, activity that happens. So that's another reason that Heidi and I really have to be very passionate about something because it takes a lot of time, but also you're getting into the heart of stuff. I mean, I think everybody, I mean, this is the thing, as a filmmaker, and speaking to a lot of filmmakers, there are no rules. So everything we're speaking
No, you can't
to,
say that.
But
There are rules, but
you make up the rules, and
Yes,
you
yes,
got to
yeah.
you got to be
I
true
get
to
you,
them,
yeah.
But so I'm just saying that I'm speaking for myself and kind of for her. But so yeah, I mean, as I've gotten older, I am more careful about something that I'm willing to jump into.
But when you in a film like that, did you start? Where you started, is that where you ended in a sense, or did you find something that began to start telling you what
In terms of that subject matter,
that particular film, 12th and
Well,
Delaware?
we never start out, but one of our things that we do discuss that is a trend and a pattern of ours is if we have extremely strong feelings about a particular issue that we think we know exactly how we feel about it, we probably won't make the film. Because if we don't bring a sense of curiosity and a journey that we're experiencing, if we can't bring that to the audience, then we're useless. We want the audience to go on a journey with us, and it has to be a real one. So, of course, we went into we knew about these crisis pregnancy centers, so-called, through Jesus Camp. So, a scene that you're not going to see in the film tonight, one of the kids' mothers worked in it looked like an abortion clinic. We went to meet her, and they were doing ultrasounds, and seemed like an abortion clinic, but then we started looking around and there were all these religious sayings on the wall, and then there was pictures of like fetuses that had been aborted.
It's very graphic
and
material.
it was like, what is this place? And it stuck with us. And then years later, we were having a meeting with Shilin Evans at HBO. We had this conversation. She said, well, why can't you get into one? And we said, oh, we'll never get into one of these. We made Jesus Camp. And there's no way they'll let us in because they're mostly run by evangelical Christians. So we eventually got into one, one run by a Catholic woman.
Which one did you get in first? You have two clinics.
We got into the Crisis Pregnancy Center, the anti-abortion clinic.
The pro-life one.
The pro-life one. And we thought we were going to make a film about this place and what goes on inside. Of course, the elephant in the room was across the street. It was the abortion clinic that was like their mortal enemy. And all day long, women would go in and protesters would try to stop them. And we realized very soon that we would somehow have to get in across the street. But of course, they thought we were pro-lifers. They thought we worked for the... So there was a lot of problems of access. And it eventually, we crossed the street and the film does get into the other side. But we didn't really know what to expect. And it just sort of evolved.
I remember there was a scene in the film where there's a doctor coming to the abortion clinic, and he comes undercover.
Right, he comes with a blanket over his head.
And you drive back with the car to the parking lot, and there's this feeling in the film, and it's never, revealed, but there's a feeling in the film that he was followed all the way there. And I'm thinking about that scene, thinking about how you're constructing this in your own mind in terms of how you're shooting and what you're shooting, or is it something that you see in the edit room that in some way you recognize that no matter what we shot, that the audience is going to have a sense from how you put it together?
Well, we try and leave our touch out of it as much as possible. You don't want to remove the audience from a real experience. And when you start seeing manipulation and edits and that kind of thing, I think that it loses the immediacy, especially with audiences today are bombarded. So I think that
and sophisticated.
And and they can sniff out disingenuous presentations.
But there was a feeling of danger, an undercurrent of danger.
But also, I don't want to undermine our collaborators. Because we have excellent cinematographers and an excellent editor, and they also are storytellers, and they know what story we're interested in, but they have to think on their feet because with observational storytelling, it changes all the time.
And you're hitting something, because in some way films are a record of time, but they also are trying to find the drama in those simple moments and allowing for the audience to understand what is beneath the surface in a sense. And I know I'm jumping around, but it made me think about Detropia, your most recent film. Won an award at Sundance, it's been out in theaters. How many people have seen Detropia? Great. See, that popularity is growing.
Yeah, that's
this one. I know this one saw it.
You didn't see it?
You didn't see Detropia? Oh my gosh. Oh.
That's everywhere. You can just go on the iTunes on that one.
But think about Detropia. I know because I was talking with you it didn't start where it ended.
No.
So talk about this process. Talk about what you bring to in your shooting and your consideration as you begin to start thinking about a film. Because I read something where you talk about how you feel that you are observational filmmakers, but at the same time, real dramatic storytellers.
Well,
it's not just what's in front of the camera.
What we are not are advocacy or activist filmmakers per se, whatever that category is under. We do look for the dramatic, we look for the cinematic. With Detropia, we thought we were making a film. We had a title for the film already. It was called Detroit Hustles Harder. It was going to be about my hometown and how it's rising from the ashes and how new businesses are opening and that how this city is going to come back from the dead. And that was all the chatter a couple years ago and kind of still is.
Right.
And so we
had read about that.
We read about it, and there are signs of recovery and all of that. But once we hit the ground and moved to Detroit to start making the film, which was a major collaboration with JustFilms and with Orlando, we realized that was a simplistic story, that we would be in some ways lying and going out of our way to ignore the greater story that was just pushing itself into our face every single day, which was the consequences of short-term thinking, of the collapse of industry, questions of American exceptionalism, of decline, issues of race under the surface that had never been dealt with in Detroit, and a few coffee shops and a few businesses were not enough to motivate a film called Detroit Hustles Harder. And so basically we had to switch gears, and it was very difficult. I remember the meeting with Orlando. We came in and we said, we have to show you a scene, which is basically these guys taking down by hand with a little crappy truck a former Cadillac repair shop, because they were going to scrap it and sell it for beer money and for bar money. And it was basically the scavenging of the city, and it was the dead of winter, and we'd filmed this scene, and it was extremely powerful and dramatic and compelling, and it was not Detroit hustling harder at all.
It was painful, and it was about survival, and
and it was about something else.
the remnants of what was.
And we showed Orlando, we said, we have to have a meeting with you because you're helping finance this film, and we pitched something a little different, and look at this scene, and this is what we're finding. I'm sorry, but the movie's going to be something else. And I remember you said, just tell the truth.
I didn't give you a stare, did I?
You stared, because you do that, and luckily we could
We were
stare back.
confused, and then he said that.
We stared back. He said, just tell the truth, 4 words. It absolutely were the 4 most important words that happened on that film, I swear to you. Because we said, okay, we have the freedom to just tell the truth. We told what we found.
Right.
And so the film completely changed.
But there's an interesting thing about the film, because the film is incredibly lyrical as well. I mean, you're challenging us to consider the, it's not desperation, but a sense of loss that's real in everyone's life. A sense of maybe it's not going to ever get better. But at the same time, we
Or
can't
be
stop.
what it was.
Won't be
Or
what it was.
the way it was is better,
It
yes.
won't be what
But
it
we can't
was.
stop watching. How do you do that? How did you do that for us?
Well,
'Cause
you
it-
have to, I mean, and this is, I think, in all our films, but this is like a, personal belief, is that you have to find, if you find the humanity, you find the hope, because they're intrinsically linked. I mean, that's just how we are, us humans. We try and stay alive, So that is everywhere. That's in every place on Earth. So, it's in Detroit too. And, we try to find those moments of laughter, and it's gallows humor, but it's still humor. It's, it's what keeps us all going when it's, when we're going through our dark times, is that, that this is our time to be here, and we're here, and it's happening,
And also the things that are left unsaid, I think audiences are sophisticated. They'll go with you. Everyone in our film, all the main characters, could leave Detroit. They have the means, the resources, the brains to leave Detroit, but they choose to stay. No one in the film says, I could leave Detroit, but I choose to stay. Nobody says it, but you know it when you see the movie. And isn't that hopeful? Somehow they're sticking with it. They don't have to say, I'm sticking with Detroit. It's not a commercial, but they are. So, and audiences see that, and they feel it, and they'll stick with you. So it's all those subtleties and nuance that we've learned our audiences appreciate. So I think that helps a lot, the why you would keep watching a film like that.
And that's something that, people are smart. Treat them like they're smart. They can handle it, And sometimes we feel bad because our stuff is sad sometimes.
Well, just to think, and this is a kind of a pitch. They did an op doc recently. You know what? Everybody know what an op doc is? The New York Times has these short films that you can go online, you can look at them. Go online and look at the New York Times, look for op docs. What is it called? What is it?
Dismantling Detroit or the other one?
No, the square.
Oh, the square. The public square.
The public square. They have an op doc called the public square, and it's going to make you feel good.
It felt,
Yeah.
I wish we could show it to
It's
you
funny.
guys.
We tried to show it,
Make
but
you
they
feel
said it was
good.
breaking
Something
up.
happens, and you think all is wrong in the world, and they stay there and they linger with the scene, and something happens, and you say, "Oh, the world is okay."
But it's also a celebration of New Yorkers, and everyone in here
It is.
will like
It's about New York. It is about New
It's
York.
the power of New
It is.
Yorkers.
And I'm
You
not
know-
going to give it away. You got to go home. You got to look. You got to go online. You got to look for it. It is amazing.
Oh,
nice,
thanks.
Small
It was-
piece.
It was fun
was a
to make.
treat.
It was a treat.
Yeah.
And you know how if you stay at a party long enough, like if you outlast everyone at a party, either
Well, you know about that. I've been at a party with you.
I do not know what you mean. If you stay long enough, either you totally regret it the next day and something goes down really bad, or you're like, it's 4:30 a.m., and this was so worth staying for. So when you're like on hour 11 of that scene that you're waiting, I just keep thinking like, it's almost 4:30, it's almost 4:30.
Right.
And sometimes things happen.
That's
Other
good.
times you just have a footage hangover the next day, and your editor yells at you.
I had to pitch that because I think if you look at this, you're going to understand why. It's just kind of magical. So we're going to see Jesus Camp today. And I'm looking at a film, and I'm trying to figure out how you bring this to us. How do you do this? I mean, we're in a place that, you know, we would rarely have access to, but you allow us to be there, and to be there in a real present way. It's not passing judgment. We're there. Talk about what it meant to make that film, and what you had to call up in order to be able to do that.
It's, you know, it's something that you have to practice. It's like a,
What's it when you say practice it?
it's not like a meditation, but it's telling yourself constantly that your worldview is irrelevant right now.
Interesting.
You know, that your worldview is your worldview and you can have it, but that's not why you're there. You know, that this is, that you're a different, that you should put it aside right now. And not to say that you shouldn't have your opinions, this shouldn't affect how you vote, the conversations you have, the friendships you have. But it's that our job or our reason for being there has nothing to do with us.
It has to do with then.
We're
It has to-
vehicles.
It has to be, yeah, you have to look at it a different way and try not to judge. I mean, it's,
Do you have a hard time at times in your films not judging?
you know, in Jesus Camp, I didn't. I don't know, I mean, I can't speak for Heidi. I have in other times. In Jesus Camp, I didn't. And after you guys see it, I don't know if you've seen it, you're going to be like, she's crazy. But there was something about their belief that was so genuine and it was pure. It was pure. And, you know, I don't think that's enough to, you know, fully accept it as my own self, but as my storyteller self, you know, that's enough.
It was hard to judge. I mean, they're children. The kids in the movie are, you know, 10 years old and up, and you know, when we were making The Boys of Baraka, these are 11, 12-year-old boys, every day they were like, let's see the footage, we want to see the footage back, when is the movie going to be ready, I want to see, how do I look, what's going on? And in Jesus Camp, they never once said, never, can I see it? When is the movie coming out? How long is it going to be? Is the movie, they didn't care, because they were just trying to get to heaven. They didn't have any use for the material world. It was kind of amazing. This is in the Midwest of the United States of America. So I was mesmerized by this lack of ego.
Right.
And this sort of humility and this, but they were being raised up in this extremely right-wing, you know, with possibly unkind and judgmental ideas. When they reached adulthood, I worried about would these sweet kids become judgmental, Tea Party activists, etc. You know, but at the time, they were just like nicer than any kids you ever met.
Well,
so it was hard to judge them.
Well, that's interesting because in watching
We left
the
that
film,
to our audiences.
Well, and when watching it, it feels that you're not creating the labels. It's not Tea Party. They're people who are engaged in something that they genuinely feel, and you want us to understand what they genuinely feel and believe. And what was most difficult for you in
Jesus Camp?
in making that film?
Well, we had to get used to it. You know, I mean, this was a world that we were completely naive of. I mean, this was stuff that we had read about, basically. So I think there was like a learning curve. Once the learning curve was over, it wasn't a problem. I mean, the food on location kind of sucked. You know, I mean, it was like stupid stuff like that.
The food was bad, but
And the edit was very hard.
The edit was the hardest part.
The edit was really hard.
Because you had all this great footage and it just was like same. We had to
Structurally, we really struggled. The
Yeah.
edit was really hard, and but amazing learning experience for us as filmmakers. You know, it was our second feature film, and
Were you surprised it received the response it received?
Well, of
What were the
course.
question and answers like?
People were like outraged. People were, this is child abuse, or some people would say, way to go, girls, for giving the Christian right a platform for their political views. And we were just like, go tell it on the mountain, guys. It's like, grow up. It's like, it was one of those things where we got a little bit heckled, but it caused, we weren't surprised. I think we knew audiences. We warned Becky, the main character in this film, that there might be an outcry. We became worried about the families and how they would be treated by the press if this movie were distributed. And we wanted to prepare them for potential nastiness. And I'm glad we did, because there was nastiness.
How did they feel about the film in the end?
They love it.
Yeah, they love it. And we're still actually in touch
Okay,
with all of them.
Good.
Actually, I put on the Facebook about this thing and Levi's mom, one of the guys, the kid with the rat tail in the film tonight, she was like, I don't know why you didn't invite Levi to come speak at Lincoln Center. And I was like, all right. I mean,
All right.
they must
Okay.
still like the movie, because he wanted to come be here. So they said it's a portrait of who they are, and they're not embarrassed about it.
Well, I think people would know that we could sit here and talk all night.
Sure.
But I'd like people to see the movie, and I just want to give a hand to Rachel and Heidi. And
Thanks,
Thank you.
Orlando.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Enjoy the film.